There are 3 things that you've got to protect for when you store your outboard over the winter. Number 1, gas going bad. It can gum up your carb. Number 2, condensation in your cylinder causing corrosion. Number 3, the most important, is if water gets in your outboard somewhere and it freezes, that water's gonna expand and it's gonna do damage. To protect the gas from going bad, we're gonna put fuel stabilizer in it. We're gonna run the motor for about 10 minutes with the bucket. That's gonna get the fuel with the stabilizer all the way through the system. We're gonna fog the engine through the carb intake, and we're gonna take the spark plug out and put a engine fogger in the cylinder directly. That's gonna protect against corrosion while it sits for months over the winter. And number 3, the most important, water. We're gonna change the lower end unit because that is the most critical area where water can get in. If you've got a leak in your lower end seal or your prop seal, then water can get in there. If it freezes, it's gonna crack your lower end unit. So we're gonna walk through those steps right now. To stabilize the fuel, super simple. Get a fuel stabilizer. I like to use Seafoam. It's a cleaner and a stabilizer in one, but you can use any fuel stabilizer. We're gonna put fuel stabilizer in the gas tank and run it because we've got fuel lines all through here and we want to get that stabilized fuel through the whole system. This gas tank is 0.3 gallons, so when it's full, a 2-ounce dosage per gallon equates to 0.6 ounces. That looks about right. I like to give it a little shake to get it all mixed up. We're gonna let it run for about 5 to 10 minutes to get that stabilized fuel in all of the lines. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fog the engine. That's gonna protect it against corrosion. When you fog it, that's gonna coat those surfaces with a little bit of oil, and it's gonna prevent that potential corrosion in the engine. The engine fogger that I just use Stable fogging oil. It's $4 off of Amazon. Works really well, super simple. As it's running, I'm going to spray this into the carb. It's gonna kill the engine, and then we'll take the spark plug out, spray this around in the cylinder to make sure everything is coated well. So when you spray this into the carb, it's gonna coat all of the valves on the intake side of the cylinder. This is a 5/8 wrench. Either use this or a spark plug socket. Give it 3 really good sprays until it starts coming out a little bit. Now I'm gonna pull the pull cord once, and that's gonna do is move the cylinder and distribute all of that oil on the entire surface of the cylinder. I'm gonna put the spark plug back in. Check your manual for torque specs for the spark plug. I don't have a torque wrench. This manual for the Mercury 6 is get it thumb tight and then go an extra 1/4 turn to get the correct torque. Now I'm going to put the spark plug, the plug wire back on, snap it back on, and we're done. There's 2 ways water can get into your outboard. Number 1, obviously it uses cooling water. So it sucks water up from the lake and it distributes water through the motor to keep it cool. The motor, most outboards are designed to drain all of that cooling water, so you don't have to worry about the cooling water staying in your motor and cracking your motor or your engine block. Read your manual to make sure, but most outboards are designed that way, so you don't need to run antifreeze through the cooling system. One important point is the cooling system is designed to drain when the outboard is in the lowest position or most upright position. If at your last trip, get out of the water and you keep your motor in the upright position like this, then the cooling water may not drain out completely. So at the end of the year, you've got to make sure that you set your outboard in the most upright position to make sure that all the water drains out of the system. The biggest risk with water getting in your outboard and causing damage if it freezes is with your lower end unit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the lower end unit oil to make sure that no water got around any seals into your lower end unit oil. So the last step and the most important step is to change your lower end unit oil. For lower unit gear oil, I use SAE 90 from Mercury, and invest in the pump. It is so much easier. It is really difficult to put gear oil into your outboard without a pump. The reason the pump is helpful is because you need to fill from the bottom port, not the top port. What that does is it allows you to push all of the air out of the lower end unit. If you fill from the top, you create air pockets in the lower end unit where you don't have oil protection. So to get this system completely full, you fill from the bottom, which pushes the air up from the bottom and then out this top port. We're gonna take a flathead, we're gonna drain, and then we're gonna hook up the pump here, pump oil until it flows out of the top port. Take the bottom off. I'll put a little container underneath to catch the oil because I like to sample it to make sure that there is no water in the oil and I don't have any leaks, and then we can fill this guy up. It's not going to start draining until you crack this guy. So I like to get a container under there. Now I'll crack the top, and now it's draining. What I do is I put the top one in and just give it one little turn. Keep it extremely loose. We're going to fill from the bottom. Once we see oil start pouring out this top, once all the air bubbles are gone, we know it's filled all the way up. I'm going to tighten this guy down. That's going to keep the oil in here and keep it from draining, because this is a fill level and a vent. So once we close this vent, then it will not drain out, and that'll allow us to put the bottom one in once it's full. All right, so I ran into a pretty big problem. The pump I got says on the back fits all Mercury outboards, except those that have Japanese origin. This guy was made in Japan by Tohatsu. So if you've got a Mercury outboard that is between 2.5 to 25 horsepower, those are made in Japan. The standard Mercury outboard lower end pump will not fit those that I just learned. So these threads will not fit in my outboard. It's my mistake. It said all Mercury outboards, but I didn't read the fine print. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, turn it around, put the tube on the threaded side, and the barb side I'm going to do a little snug fit into the lower end unit. See if that works. You give it a couple pumps until the tube fills up. Once the oil starts coming out, I'm going to hold it right there and start filling. I can hear air coming out of the vent port, the top port now, and we're simply going to keep filling until we see oil come out of the top. All right, we're flowing out of the top. I'm going to tighten this guy down. All right. Whoo, yeah, I screwed that up. So lesson learned, this is the pump I got. It says for all Mercury outboards, but it does not fit Japanese made Mercuries. Here is the pump that you should get off of Amazon. So invest in that pump, make it a whole lot easier. We were able to make it work, but it was a little bit more messy than what than than what it's supposed to be. So I'll wipe this guy off. I'll come back tomorrow to make sure that there's no drips and no leaks, and then we're good to go. The absolute final thing that I do is drain the carb bowl. You really don't want fuel to sit in that carb bowl for 3 to 4 months. There's not much gas in that carb bowl at all, but once it starts dripping, just tighten that guy back down. You don't want to tighten it too tight. You might strip some threads, so just tighten it, snug it down, and then we're done. All the fuel's out of there. You don't want fuel to sit in there and evaporate. It can leave flakes, it can leave residue if it evaporates in your carb bowl over the winter. I appreciate all of the support. It's kind of a sad day when you winterize your outboard, but it is needed. These items are not all of the annual maintenance you need to do. I did a video where I did all of the maintenance items in the manual. There's a link up top for that. Check that out if you're interested. Once again, appreciate the view. Have a good one. Thank you.